Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 17 of the Questions Bar, where my dear friend Alina Z, who's in LA, and I'm here in DC, I'm Hope Katz Gibbs. We ask our guests three important questions. This is girlfriends talking to girlfriends about the things that make us stay alive and keep breathing and feel the love and come what may. We keep it going. So today we are thrilled to have our friend Andrea Walton. She is a powerhouse, also originally from California, and she has gone on to have an insanely successful career in HR. She is also the founder of the Concrete Rose Scholarship Foundation, which she will tell us about as we go through our three magical questions bar questions. So, Alina, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited about our podcast. And of what you said, Hope. The podcast originated because Hope and I were just trying to keep each other sane and we're just doing Zooms to just chit chat. And then I said, why don't we just record it? And if anything, it makes us feel good. And if we have somebody else listening, they'll feel better. Even if it's just one person will feel better that day. And then we'll bring in guests so we can also learn. So we're not just marinating in our own
Mhm.
little bubble, but we bring other people's wisdom because those questions that we do ask, I feel like they're so important for how you are here now, how you're looking out in the future, and what we can create. Because, whether we sit around or do something, we're always creating. We're creating something. And having this girlfriend time, like for me, it's always been such an inspiring time. After this podcast, I always leave excited because, we all know how draining the news are. So, with that, let me ask the first question on, when times are hard, and especially when like you wake up in the morning, you scroll through your social media, whatever, you see some bad news, you look yourself in the mirror, and you're like, "Oh my God, I look like crap." How do you love yourself? What do you do to pick yourself up when you feel shitty?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, thank you both for having me here. I really appreciate it. Loving myself really has become an active practice and not a feeling, right? Because our feelings lie to us sometimes. And there are days where I'm exhausted. I'm looking at, funds for my scholarship foundation. I'm like, where's the money coming in? Confidence is dipping, and those are the moments where I go back to what I know to be true about me and what I feel and not what I feel in the moment. I had one of those days last week where, I was breaking out. I think I was like PMS. I was breaking out bad, and I was like sitting or sulking, and I had to like push to the side what I felt in the moment and went back to and reminded myself of the resilience that keeps showing up in my story and the reason why I'm able to keep showing up. So I focus on the decisions that I make to honor myself, my kids. I speak to myself in the mirror the same way I pour out to women that I coach with truth and with compassion, whether the hair is in a messy bun and I got the pimples on my face and I'm bloated, but I'm just like, you will win and this will work. And you may not feel it right now. Or sometimes I just say, I love you to myself over and over in the mirror. And I've done it sometimes where I start crying because sometimes you just need, we say it to other people, but how frequently do you say it to yourself? And so I've learned to love myself by honoring my boundaries, celebrating progress instead of perfection, and keeping promises to myself, even when my body or my emotions don't want to cooperate or not cooperate. I anchor in the fact that I'm still becoming, right? We're human beings. We're not human doings. And so loving myself is choosing to stay in that process every day without judgment.
You know what I really liked what you said in the beginning. I just want to make sure we really highlight what you said, that it's not a feeling, it's practice. So you actually put in action what you say, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, of course I love myself," but they don't actually practice. They're looking yourself in the mirror and saying, "I love you." Taking care of your body, taking care of your soul, actually taking action is so important. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have in my shower like these affirmations that I got on Amazon a couple years ago, and they like stick to the and every day before I get out the shower, I say those three things to myself. And there are days where I fight myself to say it because I don't feel it. So sometimes when I got the shower, there's one that says, life is always working out for me. And the next one is, the truth is I am loved and I'm supported and I'm guided. And as I'm saying these things, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm getting my towel. Life is always, and then there's some days where, even like I said last week, I got out the shower and I didn't say it. And I made myself go back and read them and say it. And so it is practice.
I'm looking right now I'm gonna make a note in my phone because I collect Christmas gift ideas,
Yeah.
and that is such a good gift. And it's mirror stickers affirmations,
Yeah, they're like shower sticker affirmations and
shower affirmations.
that are like right around the knobs. And so as I'm turning the water on, I see them.
I love that.
When I get out, and I make sure that before I get out, I say them out loud to myself. And there's some times where I have to force myself to say it because I'm not feeling like I want to say it, but I make myself say it.
I had an experience that life is always working out for me. I was on my way to an event. I think I've said this before. I do massage. I help run a company called Massage Tranquility, Mobile Tranquility. And we were doing a big event at Capital One, and there were six of us, which was, I run the chair massage thing. So I had to coordinate all these folks. And I know this route. It's in Tyson's Corner. I live in Old Town. So it's kind of like this route that I usually take. But I took a sip of coffee and I missed the turn. So, so I had to get on 495 and there was a ton of traffic. And I was why did I do that? Not 5 minutes later, I get a call from another one of the therapists on her way. She could not figure out what to do. And I knew exactly how to guide her because her GPS was taking her in circles. I knew how to guide her because she was just about a mile or two behind me. And that little tiny thing is like the universe is taking care, right? Miracle. The littlest things are the biggest things, right?
100%.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
Andrea, what I didn't say in the beginning was, a little bit about your backstory. And so, Alina, you know this, but Andrea and I had the opportunity to meet because her daughter works at a wine and cheese shop around the corner from my house that I frequent because it's fabulous, Slater's Market. And Nikela said, you have to meet my mom. So when she told me about her foundation, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so in love with this. So the mission of the Concrete Rose Scholarship Fund foundation is to get Black and brown girls to college. But what we've discovered is we've been talking over the last several months is that it's so much more than just getting them there and getting the diploma. It's actually getting them there. Right. So I had the opportunity to go with Andrea when she spoke at a conference, Young Black Professionals. Is that the name of that organization? That was amazing, right? Because 300,000 Black women have been laid off since Trump took office, and just nauseating.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah, it's just breathtaking. And Andrea, you can talk a little bit more about that. But this concept of being resilient and your backstory is so remarkable. So tell us a little bit about your history as we go through these questions.
Actually, if I may interject, I would love to hear your story and how you got also to the place of where you do things that you do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a 15-year-old teen mom and a high school dropout. I was also on welfare and the product of an amazing single mom in Pasadena, California. And during that time, I was really struggling with directionally how could I change the trajectory of my life? Because, as a statistic, young Black girl on welfare, there's usually not a lot of options. And I knew that I had to make a decision because you don't change your life by changing your life. You change your life by changing your mind. And I changed my mind about how I could go about doing this. And so I knew I needed to at least start with my GED, which is a high school equivalency exam here in the US. And so I studied for it. And the days of the test, it was a 2-day test and it was raining those days. And we didn't have a car, but we had a bike. And so I took my mom's bike and I rode my bike in the rain for those 2 days of the test. And a few weeks later, I opened the mail and I got a certificate that I passed, which I have my virtual background here, but I have my GED, I have my undergrad, I have my MBA hanging behind me. And that was the unlock for me to understand that education can and will change. It changed my life and it can change others. And so through that, I got my undergrad and I started a career in HR at a credit union in Pasadena. And I continued to work at different companies, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Target. And then I went into senior leadership as a vice president and further as a chief people officer, most recently at a biotech company. I've also started my own firm called Concrete Strategies HR, where I do some of the same work, but with my own firm. But I have been able to use that to catapult me in my career, but also help support young women who may have had similar backgrounds. And so I started it in 2020. The scholarship, it was Andrea Walton scholarship. I changed it to the Concrete Rose for a couple reasons. One, it doesn't need to have my name to be effective, but two, Concrete Rose. I grew up in Pasadena, the city of roses, and I grew up in a community mostly of concrete. And what I believe, or the ethos, is that I want to help girls bloom in hard places. And so I started it 5 years ago. I've given out over $10,000 in scholarships to girls that go to, and one young man, actually, we end up choosing one young man early, but go to different universities across the country. We also have a partnership most recently with the University of Cape Town in South Africa, because this isn't just a national but an international organization. And then we have a partnership with Howard University here in Washington, D.C. And then ultimately, in 2026, part of our strategic initiatives is to expand and deepen those partnerships to other historically Black colleges or colleges that support people of color. And so, the foundation was born from those moments. And that is why I'm on the planet.
I have a question. Because I find a lot of people, they are, okay, well, this is my life, this is how it's always been, this how it always will be, this is how it is for everybody like me. What was the thing for you that made you think, I need an education? I don't want to be a statistic, because I'm always fascinated with people who do change their minds, because it helps me help my clients and help other people change their minds, because so many people are stuck in the story. This is how it's been. This always will be. My life will always be the same. Like, what made you go, I can change it?
I think what made me decide that I could change the direction is understanding that education was the unlock. I knew that if I wanted to change the path that I was on, right? It's just like putting in directions in the GPS of your car, right? You can put in the end goal, but if you continue to get off path, life can recalculate. And so what I did was
Mhm.
recalculate. Okay, I had a child at 15, but that doesn't have to be the end of my story. I know that if I go and get my degree, at least as a baby step, I won't be on welfare, right? I didn't fully see the full story, but I was like, I don't want to be on welfare for the rest of my life. I want to be able to work for a living. I want to be able to support my daughter. And so for me, it was about changing my mind. And I think if for listeners, if you are in a place where you don't want to be, what are the decisions that you need to make to change your direction and change your mind? It's not easy, but it is worth it. And I think too, just sitting down and kind of just mapping out, where do I want to be in the next 6 months, in the next year? Tactically, what are the steps that I need to take to get there? Now, what do I need to do? People think it's outside of them. A lot of people think, well, so and so said this, or they said I couldn't do this, or this is happening. No, what are the decisions you need to make to change your life today? And that is where my head was as an 18-year-old girl, going, what are the decisions I need to make to change my life? And I took a one step, and then the next step, and then once I got the GED, okay, cool, I made that happen. Now what? I want to get my undergrad. I'll be the first person in my immediate family to get my college degree. It felt insurmountable. It felt like it was something I could never accomplish. And I went and registered. And I went every week, turned in homework. I didn't get out of class till 10 o'clock at night when it was rainy, when it was cold, whatever it was, but I kept going because I knew on the other side was something that I wanted. So, one of the things I tell my kids now is you can play now and pay later, or pay now and play later. And that was the direction that I took.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. So we asked these three questions. So Alina asked you the first one. So the other question is, what is one miracle you can share to inspire others to believe in miracles when times are hard? You just articulated it, but is there that one miracle that you have for us?
Outside of the biggest one, right, that I've shared, I think another one in my life has been watching my purpose rise out of moments that were supposed to break me. Surviving a decade of domestic violence, rebuilding my life while raising my kids. I've experienced miracle after miracle, not in loud, dramatic ways, but in the quiet guidance of my faith. And so I'd have to say, that has been one of the biggest miracles, is to watch my, rebuild after there were moments that came into my life that were there to try and destroy my life.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. All right, and question number three is, if you are in charge of the country right now, let's see, we are recording on Friday, November 21st, 2025. Things seem to have calmed down just a hair. At least, it feels that way in my body. I'm optimistic since the last elections. But what would you do if you were in charge?
Well, I mean, and Hope and I talked a lot. I've thought about this, and being in HR for over 20 years, the very first thing I would do is create like a national people-centered agenda. So one that treats equity and community and wellness and economic access as non-negotiables. As a young girl who grew up in a community that was very poor, that access to some that didn't have access to some things. I believe that whether it's healthcare or food, having food insecurity, these things that people are fighting for should be non-negotiables just as human beings. And I have spent my entire HR career watching how systems shape people's lives. And so I know that when people have access, like I talked about myself earlier, to education, to safe communities, to economic mobility, everything changes. My decisions to go back and get my undergrad not only changed my life, but changed my family's life. And so families stabilize when you provide these things without having people jump through hoops. Generations rise, communities rebuild for themselves. There's dignity. People just want dignity. And I think if you can provide these things without hitting agendas or just for the wealthy, people don't want handouts. They want to build it for themselves. And so I would provide access to quality education from the beginning, early childhood, because my kids were in Head Start. At least my oldest daughter was, because I didn't have any money. I had her in Head Start. And I believe education is the most powerful equalizer. Black women are the most educated segment in this country, and it is the most powerful equalizer. I also believe there's got to be a focus on mental health and trauma-informed support. As a survivor of domestic violence and watching my kids be impacted by that, I think there's got to be mental health and trauma-informed support. And then, of course, I'd say last is like economic pathways for women in marginalized communities, including entrepreneurship. With so many women impacted this year by unemployment, and specifically Black women, there's been a lot of women who've decided to go out on their own and create their own through their own small businesses. So what type of support and economic pathways can we provide for those that don't want to be entrepreneurs? What are some workforce programs that we can provide to communities and things like that? So I think when you invest in communities and people and not policies, not the 1%, you shift the entire trajectory of the nation. And so that's the kind of leadership that I would provide.
I love it.
I'd vote for you.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but it's
I
true.
agree.
You're absolutely right, and I completely agree. And nobody wants a handout, but everybody wants an opportunity. and we all need healthcare. Like healthcare should not be something you pay for because nobody goes to have fun to the doctor. Like nobody goes to abuse it, you know?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with so many, like, I just saw a video today on news, some digital news about a hospital here in Virginia that's not in this area, but like way out, that's closing, and it's a big labor and delivery hospital. And so, these are the things that happen, unfortunately, when there are people who are leading that don't value this just as a human beings being able to access this. So yeah, I fully agree with you.
I feel the same way. Hope and I talk about it, and it's good to be informed, but sometimes you need to step away.
Mhm.
And, in times like this, also remembering like what you mentioned, your story, when you were 15, you did not think this is where you would be now. I don't know how old you are now, but looking forward at 15, I'm sure you didn't expect yourself to be such a success and such a life-changing force for other women. You felt like a little girl, powerless and trapped, probably, in the rain, thinking like, how the hell am I going to do it? And for those who think rain is not a big deal, it is a big deal in California. Like, oh, we cancel plans. We don't go out if it rains. And like to go on a bike,
Mhm.
like, so it's a big deal. But I hope that it is the same for us right now. I hope that it is the same for us right now, where we're thinking we don't know how we're going to get to that amazing life where we do have social services for everybody as a right, but we're going to do what you said. What's the direction? Like, what's the next step and the next step and the next step? That's what I'm doing. That's my sanity. I'm like an alcoholic just for today,
That's
just
it.
for today.
That's it. Yeah, let's not try and, as people say, eat the whole elephant, right? It's like one bite at a time. And those small bites are, what can I control? What's in front of me that I can
Yeah.
control as a citizen, as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mom, as a influencer, as a leader? What can I control? What messages can I help put out or support? What work can I roll my sleeves up and do? And that is where we start. It is not about, look at what they're doing. What am I doing to change the world? And I'll be 50 next year, so
Oh my God, you look amazing.
I'm excited about it.
My friend Angelique, she came to me once just hanging out. I said, "Oh, have you ever tried grilled cheese that's vegan?" She's like, "No, I've never tried it." So I made it for her. It's like, "Oh, this is cool. I'll try to be vegan for like a week." And it's been since 2012. Yeah, and now she's a vegan
Oh,
chef and she's has written a book and she's teaching others. And I'm thinking I could have been bitching about like, "Oh my God, animals are being mistreated," which I do bitch about it because
correct.
animals are being mistreated. But I also was like, "Okay, let me just take this one person and just
Yeah,
introduce her to something yummy." And over the last 13 years, like how many cows has she saved? How
yeah,
many cows have been saved because of her teaching other people? And it's gonna add up. Also, she's teaching other people, she's touching somebody else. And I'm thinking that's because I did like a little tiny thing.
that's
And
it.
so if we just do little tiny things, we don't know what's going to happen if one person can F up this world, one
That's right.
person can also make it better. And maybe that person is being inspired by this podcast today, and then they're
That's
going to do something. You never know. Like, I'm such a Pollyanna. I'm like, you never know. But there's a chance of 50-50. Things are going to shit, things are going working out. And I'm going to believe that they're working out,
Absolutely.
and then when I feel shitty, I'm going to do what you said, get those stickers and
That's it.
Love
That's
it.
it. Even when you don't feel like it. Like seriously, I had a moment I was just like, I was crying. I was like, okay, life is always working for me. The truth is I'm loved, I'm blessed, and I'm supported. And everything is working for my good. And I did that and I do it every day, even when I
yeah.
don't feel like it.
Well, the thing is, we don't know, right? The day before a miracle happened to us in the past, we didn't know it was going to work out. And like what Hope you said, you accidentally missed a turn and it turned out for the best. And,
Right.
I have also had experiences too. And it's not about me, but I'm just sharing, like, we all have to, like, this is for me to marinate in,
Yeah.
to that is it
Mhm.
may be good, and why not believe it? Why not trust that maybe there's a possibility that it is good?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we have an option, right? We can either have faith or we can have fear.
Exactly.
You're choosing one every day.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about Oprah. When she was growing up, her life was hard, and when she started working, they told her she doesn't even belong in broadcasting. And
Right.
like, look where she is now,
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right.
So
That's
it's
right.
just, I was volunteering 20 years ago when I lived in DC for this organization called Hoop Dreams.
Mhm.
I don't know,
I think I've heard of them. Yeah, I think I've heard of them before.
yeah, and it was a mentoring program where we, as entrepreneurs or young professionals, were mentoring inner city school kids because in the inner city, especially in DC, like I did not know this, but things are so much more expensive there. Like
Yeah.
even gas is more expensive because
Yeah.
there's no other choice, and food choices are not that good. And like if you feed people crappy food and you take away their money for necessities, you literally leave them prisoners to their own space. And these kids would take the metro and would meet with us, and we try to show them that life is different if you just step out of your community. And like what you said, think about education and it doesn't cost money, but it costs energy to go to school, to do good work for homework, to say no to things that might entice you to get onto the other direction, and then apply to college, get a scholarship. Like I got scholarships when we didn't have any money, but I also had somebody in my family who started with nothing, literally, and just like drove himself to people like, this is what I have an idea for, and then had alliances. So we need that for people who are excluded from regular opportunities, and inspiring women that no doesn't mean no. Like you
No,
can,
absolutely. And giving, communities a picture of possibility, right? Like if you don't see what's possible, it's hard to then dream about what you can become.
yeah,
And so, to your point about the Oprahs and, other successful women who have come from nothing and built empires and fortunes, seeing them succeed, which is why I was always so grateful. Only 4% of Black women are at the C-suite, and I was in the C-suite, and I had someone apply to my company, and she had set up time with me and sent me a message after and said, one of the reasons why I applied to this job is because when I went to the website and I saw your picture, I knew that there was representation. And so you don't know the impact of who you are and how you carry yourself and the impact you make until people tell you. And so I had no idea that seeing me on the website influenced her decision to come because she was like, okay, well, this seems like an inclusive employer. Let me apply. And so, I think the picture of possibility of what is possible is important for younger generations, just people in general.
yeah, and that's why I like to talk about, miracles, because miracles are possible and we never know when the next miracle is going to come from.
That's right.
But, I don't know if I shared it with you, Hope, but I met this guy and we were talking about, he was a scientist. He said that literally when you believe in miracles, when you are relaxed, your physical vision is different. Like you see more possibilities. But when you're in a stress and fight or flight, you literally have a tunnel vision. So if you're walking by $100 on the street, like I've found $100 on the street twice
Yeah.
because I'm always like, on the street, and I was walking with a friend. She didn't see it, I saw it. And I know that it just I always, my fiance laughs at me. He thinks I'm a nut house person, but I'm like, I believe in possibilities. I believe in possibilities. You never know, but you won't know for sure if you don't try.
That's
But
right.
that's only because I had examples. And so we have to be an
Right.
example for somebody else, like you said.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we got to chat. It's so wonderful
Yeah,
to
I'm
meet
so
you.
glad you invited me on. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm excited. My thought about revolutionizing people and just sort of, it's my response to wanting to have equity at everyone. It's fair and we play together. And I'm Pollyanna too, right? Like, I don't understand this whole thing about woke. Well, what do you want to be asleep? What's as opposed to what?
People call you woke as if it's a bad thing,
I
I'm
know.
like,
We're
thank
liberal.
you.
Yeah, a
Uh,
liberal full of love. Yeah.
And what's the opposite, right? What's the
What's
opposite of that?
I always want, not always. I used to wonder, like maybe I'm the brainwashed one. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe because there's so many people you talk to and they are on a different side. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let me test it. And I like the test of Immanuel Kant, where if you were the emperor of the whole world and everybody was doing the same thing as you, would it be a good world or would it be a bad world? I'm thinking this would be a
Mhm.
great world, free education for
Yeah.
everybody, free healthcare. I would make people take self-love classes, like
Mhm.
making them love themselves as a requirement to really feel enough in yourself. Like, yeah, it would be an amazing world if everybody loved each other and had organic food. Yes,
Mhm.
please. So I know we are on the right side of history because we all
Yeah.
talk about possibility and opportunity and doing something good in the world and not harming other people.
That's right. I think
Yeah.
that's our reasonable service as humans. The space we take up, right, is to try and make the world and the place that you take up better than what you found it. And at the end of the day, none of us make it out of this thing alive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
You can't take all the money with you. Like, what's the
yeah,
point?
listen,
Mhm.
you don't see a U-Haul truck being carried behind a hearse. And so what are you going to do with the space that you take up? Period.
Yeah.
I love how somebody said they started calling Elon Musk the greediest man in the world. Or like the Bezos, they're the 1% greediest people. Because if you see monkeys having bananas and one is hoarding all the bananas, you will not think that monkey is the most successful one. That monkey is a psychopath, right?
Mhm.
And our closest DNA is to the monkeys, to the chimps, to that world. But so I'm thinking comparing any animal, hoarding, that is not a healthy animal.
No, no, we're supposed to
Good
take care
point.
of each other. So it's more of us than is of those that are super wealthy. Again,
Super greedy.
yeah, and super greedy. And I think we just need to continue to invest in people, invest in our communities, where we sit, where we stand, where we walk, where we work. And that's how we make incremental change.
Yep.
Yeah,
Andrea for
absolutely.
president. I'm in.
Yeah.
We got our vote.
I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
honestly, it
Mhm.
takes sometimes one person. I went to the motel where Martin Luther King was executed, and you see that he made such a big impact in so few years that he had. Had he lived longer, it would have been big impact. Or Rosa Parks, like people who just it takes one person to stand up.
It takes one person.
Yeah.
And sometimes we give the megaphone to the wrong people, and we give them a lot of play, and we give them a lot of reels and things on social. But we need to amplify the voice of those that are making a difference, and that's what's important.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
we're doing this at least one thing at a time, one podcast at a time, one guest at a time. And I always think of Justin Bieber being discovered on YouTube by accident,
Oh
by
yeah.
accident. But there's no accidents. You never
Oh,
know who's gonna bump into something and they hear something and they open something. Like there's so much we don't know that's happening behind the scenes, and so we just have to like it always makes me feel so good after we have these talks because I just feel so inspired. And you know what I'm thinking of doing? Maybe you said that you bought those stickers on Amazon,
yeah.
and I'm trying to boycott Amazon. So maybe I'll make my own stickers
Ooh,
on like Printify and I'll just sell them.
Oh yes, that's a great idea.
Or
kaboom.
you can do it if you want. But I'm like, I have time right now to actually like, oh, by the way, I changed my whole purpose right now for what I'm doing because Andrea, you don't know, but I've been a chef for 15 years and a health coach, and then I switched back to fashion, bringing in a style and how you look changes how you feel inside. But now I'm changing my whole positioning that it's not about anything else but authenticity. It's how when you're authentic inside, you look authentic outside, you eat authentic food, you
Yeah.
take authentic actions. It's
Yeah.
all about being yourself, like in a healthy way. And even if you have some dark shadow stuff, you can still make it healthy in a way that you create your world. So it's all about authenticity, and those stickers would go with the branding of being authentic.
I love
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you can put some of the money that you make into the scholarship
Oh,
foundation.
absolutely. I would love that. Absolutely.
Everybody
Abs
wins.
no, I always love to support organizations and
Yeah.
people who can actually use support and use it as a springboard. And my parents, when my mom was on the podcast, she shared that they had a program that was taking entrepreneurs from Russia, bringing them to America to learn from companies in America how to create entrepreneurship in Russia and then doing business honestly in Russia. I always love supporting people like you, and I will be happy to make these stickers. I'm going to put it on my list to do after I fix the cover of the book and do the stickers. And whatever happens, I'll share 50% of profit.
There you go. Yay,
Oh,
I love it. And
that's
what
a
we're
start.
doing at Incandescent is we are working toward creating the Blooming Rose magazine for Andrea so that she can be the focal point and what she's doing for all other organizations around the world that are doing the same. So we're excited about launching that hopefully next year. Yeah.
My book used to be called not Single and Hungry, it used to be called Let Yourself Blossom
Ah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you're letting yourself blossom.
Yep.
I love that.
The rose.
Yeah, I
She
love
is the
that.
rose. You both are. Alina, I always say that she is the roses that she sits next to every week when we do our show. Thank you, ladies. This has been
Thank
so
you.
inspiring and wonderful. Andrea, just
How can people find you, by the way?
Yeah, so a couple ways. People can find me on LinkedIn, so Andrea C. Walton, MBA. You can also go to my website, theconcreterosescholarship.com, for more information about that. And then if someone wants to get in touch with me for executive coaching or fractional HR work, it's concretestrategies.com, so concrete-strategies.com.
Well, thank you.
fantastic, fantastic. Alina Z, thank you for your time in LA. Thank you, Andrea. We're here
Thank
in
you.
DC. I'm Hope Katz Gibbs, proud producer of the show on Incandescent Radio and Incandescent TV, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.